Environment, which is another nonprofit environmental organization some of you may have heard of, holds a meeting every year in the wintertime in D.C. And in 2008, they purposefully held that meeting in December rather than their usual January timing because they wanted to affect the transition teams. We had a brand new president coming in. There's a whole lot of people in Washington starting to figure out what the policies of the new administration will be. NCSE has a series of breakout sessions, 30 or 40 of them, where people get together in a room like this and talk through problems, come up with recommendations over the course of about 4 or 5 hours. We had a session at NCSE where we developed a set of these recommendations which were then passed on to the transition teams. And I want to highlight just 4 out of, I think, 10 recommendations we had. You need to link biomass for biofuels research and development and assistance funding to define sustainability standards. We can't just wave our arms and say biofuels have to be sustainable. We need to come up with some clear criteria for what that sustainability means. Second, we need to take a broad national inventory of biomass production. There's been a lot of work trying to figure out, how much corn can we grow, how much other kinds of plants can we grow, things like switchgrass and prairie grasses that might be used, forest materials. We really need an inventory of those materials and evaluate them based on what the impacts might be on biodiversity and ecosystem services. You've probably heard a lot about expanding corn, which is a pretty energy-intensive, fertilizer-intensive crop that is not that good an environmental player. We're expanding corn very steadily. We're expanding fertilizer use. So can we find other means to do that? Can we look at other crops? This is obvious, but it's always worth saying, I think especially in Washington. You need to base biofuels policy on sound science with participation from all stakeholders, not just the scientists, but the economists, the people that live in rural communities who are affected by these changes because they're growing different crops.